Being recorded.
This is Shalom. Once again, I come to this planet today, and I am identifying myself as Shalom, just as promised in a book called Micah, in chapter 5 and verse 5. I am Shalom. I am also the very soul of whom the world only knew as a minor prophet, a Hebrew minor prophet, that they have taken it upon themselves to name Micah, the Morasite. And that is according to Micah chapter 1 and verse 1. I am Micah. And for this recording, I'm not going to take up your time. Let's interrupt your day, where I'm going to make an announcement that must be done today because of what is happening. There are a lot of confusions going on in the world today because of what they say the United States government is claiming to be mysterious drones. That is not the case. But for the record of this recording, today's date of two calendars. First, the solar calendar, which is the calendar of the Hebrew, the God of the Hebrews, our calendar that rules the solar systems in the galaxies and in the universe, governed and ruled by the sun, S-U-N, which is symbolic for the sun, S-O-N. Today is known as the 6th day of the 10th month of our solar calendar, the 6th day of the 10th month of our solar calendar until sundown today. And our year is 6027 that we are now in of our solar time period. And that would be from the time that Cain was given an opportunity to rule this planet for 6,000 years. You will find that read in the King James Version, Holy Bible, all the Bibles. It should be in all the Bibles that are out today. In the book called Genesis in chapter 4 and verse 7, he was given a chance to prove himself to be moral and righteous, and he did not do that. He failed. That's 6,027 years ago of this calendar. Again, the 6th day of the 10th month. Today is also known by the Gregorian calendar as Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Again, that's Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. And in about 5 or 8 more days from now, will be, according to that calendar, December 25th, that this entire planet has been deceived into believing that is the date of the Christ of the Hebrews, of his birth, and that is not true. The Christ, whom they also changed his name from Yahshua, to Jesus, and first Jesus in Greek, Jesus Espanol, and Jesus in English. That is not his name. That is not my name. When you study the name Micah and his soul, Micah, as the 33rd book, as it is, and positioned in the Bibles as the 33rd book in most Bibles, right in the middle of the Bible of 66 books, you will discover that Micah is the very same soul as the Christ, the very same soul as the Son of God. Now, for those who may need help in believing that, then take a look as you grab a Bible. It doesn't matter which one. I've always read from the King James Version, the 16th Authorized Edition, as I will continue to do today. And as we go to now the King James Version Bible in a book called Micah, in chapter 7, I'm going to read a verse. And that verse would be verse 6. So I'm going to read, as you follow along, in Micah chapter 7. Just to give an example, as you study this, you would know. If you study hard enough to become erudite, then I will not have to bring this to your attention. You would already know these things, as the U.S. government knows. In Micah chapter 7, verse 6, it reads, as I quote, verbatim, I quote, for the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth up against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, A man's enemies are the men of his own house. End quote. That's the end of verse 6. Now, verse 7 of the same chapter and book is prophetical. It also promises well, and all the theologians who came across the scrolls of Micah, they knew that Micah would return in the last days. As verse 7 says, and I read, I quote, I continue, therefore I will look unto the Lord, all caps, that is my father, and his father in Hebrew, I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me, end quote, in the verse 7. Verse 8 also left record that there will be people to rise up against me, men in particular, as one will be known as the fifth angel that I revealed the past 2 sessions that I came on social media, especially YouTube and Facebook, and I revealed who the fifth angel is. It was promised that the fifth angel will rise up against me and become an enemy. I want to also be known before I read verse 8 that the fifth angel is a liar. He is the liar, a liar, and an angel of Hallel. Hallel is also known as the great dragon, that old serpent called the devil, the great dragon. He is a liar. Just to name one liar, to set the record straight, one video he made recently, he claimed that on that video that, as he calls me, Micah Israel, or Charles Lawrence Johnson, whatever he prefer, he said that my house is surrounded in the front with a black gate, a black fence, and behind the fence, I have people here that I'm holding hostage. I've taken away their cell phones and I'm not feeding them. I'm starving them to death. I also have people living in my yard in tents. Now, that itself is a lie. The county government, Miami-Dade County government, has come to my home, my house where I am right now in Miami of Florida. And I'll get to that in a moment. But they have come to my home, my house here in Miami of Florida. And they have inspected, and they have at one time, of course, in the year 2021, they came and inspected, and they did find that there were tents in the backyard, and I put people in my home, in my backyard, that were homeless, and they were out in the streets, and they were starving. So I brought people, those who even came from out of the state, to come to Miami to be with me. Most were family members. They had no place to go. They had no money for hotel rooms or no money for per diem, lodging, food, etc. They just came to get away from the cities and the states that they were in, that were in chaos, total chaos, more than, not as much as today, but more than many states. So I put them up in my backyard. Of course, that became a violation of the county code of Miami-Dade County to have tents and people dwell in the tents. So therefore we corrected that. And I put them up in apartments and in homes throughout the area, in the neighborhood, the same neighborhood. And we corrected that. And that was 3 years ago, going on 4 years ago, next April 2025. And that was corrected. And the county has since came, and I have repaired, and I have made the standard in compliance with all code violations that I committed against this county ordinances and their statutes. Whatever they had in their codes, I corrected that. And right now, today, and they're welcome to come today and check my property and see that I have no county violations that are in effect on this date, the 17th day of December, 2024 of their calendar. Since then, I no longer have a black fence in the front of my house. I now have purple. I no longer have children in the back, people living in the back of my backyard in tents, many tents. I do not have that. So he lied. And it's ludicrous for him to say that I'm starving people and taking away their cell phones. See, that's a lie. You can come here and check. That is a lie. I'm not starving people, I'm feeding them. But that's his nature. And that's why I loosed him out of the bottomless pit to come about and fulfill prophecy of Revelation chapter 9. But I've done that. So I'm done with that. Now, to get back to what I was saying, that I was promised to come back. I promised I would come back today, according to Micah chapter 7. And because he did that, then he fulfilled verse 8. And now today I will tell him in verse 8, as I read and I quote Micah chapter 7, verse 8, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, as the Florida Power and Light Company came and shut off my power in April of 2021, when I sat in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me, and he was. My power is now back on. It's also promised in verse 9 that I promised that I would bear the indignation of the Lord. Why? Because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. And verse 10 says, and I continue to quote, then she that is mine enemy shall see it, and she should be looking right now. And shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is the Lord thy God, Yahweh? Where is Yahweh ben Yahweh? That's all they knew. Well, mine eyes shall behold her, as they're doing right now. And now shall she be trodden down as the mire of the streets. End of verse 10, end quote. Fulfilled. Now take a look just for a moment to Matthew chapter 10. Go to Matthew chapter 10. And let's see if it's the same soul who promised in verse 6 of Micah chapter 7. Who would be against who in the same house as the household family? Micah chapter 10, I'm going to read beginning at verse 34 of Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I'm come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. And notice that at the beginning of this particular testimony that I'm revealing today, I did not greet you with shalom. And that would be the planet and those who are watching right now. Usually I come on and I identify myself as who I am. I am shalom. But today I did not greet the rest of the planet with shalom, which is peace in Hebrew. Why? Well, think not that I'm come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. With sword, verse 35, Matthew chapter 10. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father. I repeat, for I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes, in verse 36, a man's foes, which are enemies, shall be they of his own household. That fulfills prophecy, and that is a carryover, if you prefer, that is a supplement of Micah chapter 7 and verse 6, the same soul. In other words, I have returned today as I promised, and I've come back today for several reasons. And as I do, I came back today, as promised, to proclaim my bishopric. I have returned to reclaim my bishopric. And you don't know what that is. My bishopric spells from left to right, BISHOPRICK. My bishopric. I return to proclaim my bishopric. And for you to do the bishopric of my soul, you are invited to do the bishopric, as I promised that you would do when I return. And for those in Greece, you know it as an episcope. I return to proclaim my episcope. Now, before I get into where that's located as a secret, let me advise you that there is no birth of a Christ on December 25th, regardless what year you may proclaim. I've returned today by way of the Bermuda Triangle. And that's how I returned a little over 70 years ago now, by way of the Bermuda Triangle that started by William Sells. William Sells was at one time the discoverer and the governor of Bermuda. I'm going to explain the Bermuda Triangle and put away these lies of some so-called drones that are flying over the United States, in north of the United States today, in north, a few states, as well as here in Florida. William Sells was a governor of Bermuda and a pioneer of Bermuda, who then sojourned and took a journey on a ship to an island to discover the island of Eleuthera of the Bahamas in the 17th century. As he ventured on and discovered this island in the Bahamas known as Eleuthera, which means freedom, the island of freedom, William Sells, along with a few of his family members and his slaves, landed on a rock in Eleuthera, actually crashed on a rock that they call Devil's Backbone Rock today at Eleuthera. With Sells were a few slaves of people, a family that I chose to come back through, especially a room that I would come through or come in and be set in. My Ab chose a room that he would place me in, place my soul in that womb of Eleuthera. A little town in Eleuthera is called Hatchet Bay. Another part that's called Harbor Island, Eleuthera. From Eleuthera, a family member or some family members from Eleuthera, as William Sells left Bermuda and went over to North Carolina, became the first governor of North Carolina. So from Bermuda to Eleuthera, the Bahamas, and then to Nassau, the capital today of the Bahamas, Nassau, even as Christopher Columbus, as he was on his journey of discoveries, so-called discoveries, he also discovered another point of that journey of Puerto Rico. So the north point of the Bermuda Triangle would be the first land, the first point of Bermuda. And that point would then go to the south, to Puerto Rico, San Juan, Puerto Rico, as Christopher Columbus called that island the San Juan, Puerto Rico of St. John. He named Puerto Rico in honor of St. John the Baptist. Now, from Bermuda to Puerto Rico of St. John the Baptist, and it was St. John the Baptist who baptized the Christ. This is all done from the north to the south, and after the baptism was prophetically promised today to bring back the Christ, then he would land on the west point of the Bermuda Triangle that's pointed right at Miami, Florida, right here where I'm sitting today. And that's where we landed. That's where I landed in 1953. Now, I am told today and commanded by my father to set the record straight of the lies that are being told today by the U.S. government and other governments of this planet. That remember, I came not to bring peace, but a sword. The drones so-called drones that you see does not exist. They are spacecrafts. I came back with those spacecrafts. Let's go for a moment to the book called Acts of the Bible, chapter 1. Acts chapter 1. Remember, these are the Acts. And see, when you look at the Acts, it has an S on the end, which means these are Acts that happened during that time, thousands of years ago. These are the Acts that are preserved for today. And Acts chapter 1, I'm not going to read the entire chapter, but I'm going to start at verse 2. Until the day in which, you have it? Until the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Ghost, had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen. Reiterating from my last video and my proclamation, the Holy Ghost is John. Although you see here, I was taken up the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Ghost, had given commandments through the Holy Ghost the commandments. That's before John was taken up. That means while John and myself were still here, I gave commandments to my disciples to obey what John was telling them to do and what John was teaching at the time, John the Baptist. That would be San Juan, Puerto Rico, the Bermuda Triangle. As I move on down now, the proof is in verse 5. For John truly baptized with water, but ye shall be baptized with the Holy Ghost not many days hence. When they therefore were come together in verse 6, they asked him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom of Israel, or a kingdom to Israel? Verse 7 says, and he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power. Verse 8, but ye shall receive power. After that, the Holy Ghost is come upon you, and ye shall be witnesses unto me, both in Jerusalem and all Judea, and in Samaria, which is a metaphor for America. If you remove the S, you have a synonymous word for America and a metaphor for America, and into the uttermost part of the earth. And verse 9, and when he had spoken these things, while they believed, and while they beheld, they believed at the same time. The disciples always believed what I said to them. And what they believed, they beheld. They beheld he was taken up. That means they witnessed that body, that celestial vessel and soul. They witnessed it go up. It was taken up, and a cloud, it came in a cloud, received him out of their sight. That cloud today is known as a spaceship, or what they're calling, the U.S. government's calling UFOs, and they're calling them today drones. And while they looked steadfastly toward heaven as he went up in the spaceship, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, in verse 10, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Christ, see that J-E-S-U-S is a euphemism. Remember, his name was Yahshua. At one time, I was called Yahshua in Hebrew. The same Yahshua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. And today I have returned from my bishopric. Where's the bishopric? Take a look, beginning at verse. I'll explain what that is in a moment. Take a look at verse 18. I'm going to read from verses 18 to 20. Now this man purchased a field with the reward of iniquity, and failing headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out. Verse 19, and it was known unto all the dwellers at Jerusalem, insomuch as the field is called in their proper tongue Academa, and that is to say, the field of blood. And verse 20, for it is written in the book of the Psalms, let his habitation be desolate, and let no man dwell therein, and his bishopric let another take. And there you have bishopric. And that I return to proclaim my bishopric, and for you to do a bishopric on me to see if I am him or not. Look at bishopric very closely that's B-I-S-H, as I said, B-I-S-H-O-P-R-I-C-K. Put that in your concordance, and you should grab your concordance, your strong exhaustive concordance. When you grab your concordance, it's going to take you, it's the only place in the Bible where that's found, in Acts chapter 1, verse 20, the same chapter 1 where it's promised I will return in the last days. When you click on that and put in your strong concordance, you will find on the G, Greek, 1984, The same year when Ma'ar began to reestablish our Hebrew solar calendar in 1984. In that year, our Shabbat was recognized from sundown Saturday to sundown Sunday, just as it is today. It is the 70th year from 1954, the 70th year. And it is also the 40th year from 1984 to 2024. That's 40. That's Mem. The number value of Mem is 40. Mem, the 13th Hebrew alphabet, which is the first one that rules, the first Hebrew alphabet or symbol that rules my name, as you know it, Mika. So what is the bishopric in Greek? The episcope, according to G 1984. And it means investigation, inspection, and visitation. Here is my return and visitation to this planet. Also is defined as the act by which God looks into and searches out the ways, the deeds, character of men in order to adjudge them their lot accordingly, whether joyous or sad. And right now, those who pierce me should be sad to see me, as promised in the book called Revelation chapter 1. Even the oversight and the overseership. See, the overseership, the suffix of that is ship, as in spaceship, the office of spaceship, the charge, the office of an elder, the overseer or presiding officers of a Christian nation, not church. How does that happen? Not Christmas, not the 25th day of December. It would be actually it's the 15th day of the 7th month of when the Christ returned on this planet, 1953, actually 1954 day calendar. The 15th day of the 7th month, the year 5957 of our calendar. As I said, so you can check out my previous videos. It will give you the rundown on that. In the meantime, I'm here to announce this government that I came to proclaim our planet. We left you on this planet. We want you to stop your lies and deception as you were created to do so, as said in Revelation 12:9. We'll take a look at that for a moment. Go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. Let's take a look at that. Let's see what the great dragon and his angels have done today to the whole planet. And right now, even my own people, Judah, are preparing themselves to worship at some type of Merry Christmas. This does not exist. It's a lie. It's paganism. First look at Revelation chapter 12 and verses 1 and 2. Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. It says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven. You have it? A woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. You can look upon my head now. I am that woman. It's known as the sun-clad woman, the sun-clad woman. I am that woman who John the Baptist baptized. Verse 2 says, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. And pain to be delivered. The most powerful word here for prophetical purposes is the word pained, to be delivered. That pained is found in a secret, is found in the bishopric without the ing. If I add the ing to bishopric and I remove the if I remove the bish, which is short for bishop, if I remove the bishop, the bish and the o, then you're left with the prick. Try it, write it, take notes, grab something to write with and something to write on. If I remove the bish and the o, now I'm only left with the prick. So make a note of that. Write it down. I'm going to do it with you because this is an investigation. See, verse 20 of Acts chapter 1 was left there for you to do an investigation for me, on me, to see if it's truly me. That's why up in verse 6, 7, and 9, 6, 7, 8, and 9, it tells you I'll be the same one. So I left the bishopric here for you to do the investigation on me to see if it was really me. So I've come back to retain my bishopric. And when you remove, as I said, the BISH, you're left with the PRICK. Now, take the PRICK and place that into your search box of your Strong Concordance. Put that in your search box. You should have PRICK. PRICK. I'm doing it with you. Now, when you click on that, click on the PRICK, it takes you to a prick. And the prick is in Bible. It's not the King James Version, but it is in the NLT Bible. And when you click on that, it's going to take you to Ezekiel. It should. Go ahead and click on it. It takes you to Ezekiel chapter 28. Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 24. And that reads, as I quote, "No longer will Israel's scornful neighbors prick and tear at her like briars and thorns, for then they will know that I am the sovereign Lord," in all caps. That all caps is my Father. I and my Father are one. I'm going to explain to you how I became like my Father and how we became one. It was a secret. In fact, it was secrets. I was placed in the womb of a woman of Eleuthera, from Bermuda to Eleuthera, to the Bahamas, to Nassau, to San Juan, Puerto Rico by John the Baptist, in honor of John the Baptist, to Miami, then to Miami, to come out of the womb of that woman that is hiding, or was hiding the prick without the ing, to proclaim that my Father would say in these days with me that I am the sovereign Lord, the God, the big God, the little God, the big Lord, the little Lord. I and my Father are one. Now go to your Bible and see what it says in the King James Version of Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 34. See, this is a part of what we don't forget, we come from Revelation chapter 12. You just make a note now. You're going to keep Revelation chapter 12. I'm revealing to you verse 2 of why this woman being with child cried, travail in birth, and pain to be delivered. Delivered by who? By the ships that are here, that they think of drones flying around up north in the northern states, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Washington, District of Columbia, Virginia, Maryland, even Massachusetts, all those states up north, even Florida, Georgia, North, South Carolinas. Go ahead and take a look at Ezekiel chapter 28. And let's see what it says in the King James Version in verse 24. And I'm going to read as I quote verbatim. Is it Ezekiel chapter 28? Okay. And it said, what verse? Okay. And let's see what it says. And I quote, "And there shall be no more a prickling briar to the house of Israel, nor any grieving thorn of all that are round about them, that despise them, and they shall know that I am the Lord God." See, I told you in the King James Version, it has a lowercase Lord and the big God. That is me. They changed it in the NLT to make you think that the Son of God would not return, or that there would be no spaceships, there would be drones. But you see, the King James Version that was released to the public in 1611, opposed to the NLT, the New Living Translation Bible that was released in the 1900s, it tells you who it is as sovereign. It's the Son, the lowercase Lord, but the big capital God, that represents the Son. But here in this verse, in the King James Version, it gives you the ing added on to the PRICK. So now I go back to your Strong Concordance where you have prick with the NLT. And go back to the search box before it took you to the NLT Bible, the ESV. They all read the same verse and chapter, by the way, the book. They all, the ESV, the AMP, YLT, RSV, they all read the same, take it to the same book of Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 24. Go back to your search box and add in the ING. And you have your prickling or your pricking. And that pricking, as you see it, is only found in Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 24, one time. And that pricking is telling you that I am pain. It's to pain and to irritate and be in pain. This is that pain that was hidden and sealed in Revelation chapter 12, verse 2 of that woman, the pain. That means the same pain of this prick that's found in bishopric was hidden in Acts chapter 1 and verse 20, which would be the same woman of verse 7 of be the same Christ that was promised to return, the same one. He is the same. I am the same. I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. Just as promised in Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. The same Christ. Just as it said in Acts chapter 1 and verse 7, the same one. The same Christ. Now go back to Revelation for a moment. Don't forget, this started in Acts chapter 1. Acts chapter 1, the same Christ as promised in Acts chapter 1. Are we going back? That just is promised in Acts chapter 1 and verse 11. Opposed to verse 7. That verse 7 is where it started. It was promised in Acts chapter 1, verse 11 to be the same. Now, as we go back to Revelation chapter 12, we stopped at verse 2. And all those who are liars and deceiving you, I caution you, people of this planet, all governments are deceiving their people of all nations on this planet, especially the United States. If they were drones, then how come they didn't act on it? Because they cannot. It's in Ezekiel chapter 1. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 7 says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. And the dragon fought and his angels. Verse 8 says, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Verse 9 explains why they're telling you that they're drones. That says, and the great dragon was cast out. That old called the devil and Satan, his son, which deceiveth the whole world, not some of it. The whole world was deceived and being deceived. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Verse 10 identifies me. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. Now you can worship whatever Christ that you like. You have that right, especially with the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Amendment 1. You have the right to worship whatever Christ you like, freedom of religion. But the God of the Hebrews has his Christ, according to Revelation chapter 12, verse 10. And for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accuseth them before our God day and night. Verse 10. Remember, verse 10 beholds his Christ, and that would be the same as the Son of God. Now let's go back for a moment and reveal this truth of what those are and the secrets. I was told I would come back. It was promised I would come back with secrets. Let's go to YouTube for a moment. And let's look at a video that was recorded in 1986 by John the Baptist. And let's see what's that's going to say here. It'll be a video of Time interview recorded in 1986 in the office of International Headquarters at the time, the Temple of Love.
Yahweh.
Okay.
But then it tells you that the word would become flesh and dwell among men. I am that flesh and I'm dwelling among men. Then it goes on to tell you that I would come to my own people from whom I'm born, and that they would receive me not. Though I'm in the world, though the world is made by me, and I'm in the world, yet the world knows me not. So the world has to come into the knowledge of me. So that for that reason, I'm rejected. I was rejected and despised by my own people. That fulfills the scriptures. Totally, I have lived there. Then, after I demonstrate my persistence, that I would be rewarded with those who would come into knowledge and who would be believed and be redeemed. And that's what I'm doing. And of course, then the world will take notice through the work that I do. And I've lived that. I'm living it. All that the word is from Genesis through Revelations, I'm living it because I come in the volume of this book, all 66 of them.
Well, you're speaking of both the New Testament and the Old
Yes, and Revelation.
Testament.
Mhm.
But when you reject the emergence of the Messiah,
No, I am the Messiah that is prophesied. I am the Messiah of the New Testament.
but the books that talk about Jesus, they're not are out of date or
That's prophetic. See, Jesus, the man that is called, Jesus, remember his name is Yahshua.
yeah.
Yahshua was a disciple of John.
Mhm.
John was the man. John was the prophet. The man called Jesus when he was baptized. Baptized had nothing to do with the water. Again, the scriptures are written figuratively, literally, in metaphors, similes, in prose, and in poetry, and full of allegories. So when you read the man that was called Jesus being baptized and being put under water, then I would have to teach you what baptized means. You'd have to break down the word baptized in all of its letters. See, every word is scientifically composed of the letters that are words within themselves. Every letter is a word. So when you break down the word baptized, you have B, which follows A, and I am A. F, B follows the series of A. And B is also the word BE, which comes into existence as a result of A. So therefore, John was prophesying about A coming, which is the first in the series. And the second set of the word is APT, meaning apt. Now, to be apt, you have to be, that meant that the man was baptized by John, had to become clever, adroit, sagacious, etc. in the ism, John. That made him an is. That's why he was called John the Baptist. See, he came to be in the knowledge of Yahweh, and he then subsequently became apt in the ism, which is the dogma and the law of Yahweh. So, since John was the one that was the prophet, then the man that was called Jesus was baptized by him. That made him a student and a disciple of John, not the one. And when he attempted to assume the mantle of the one, he began to teach secrets that were not to be taught until the time of the one to come. He was 2,000 years or 1,900 years earlier of his coming. And when he began to reveal the knowledge of who Satan was, John 8:44, when he began to reveal the knowledge of the Son, the knowledge of who right to rule it was, he could not afford to be left alive. So for breaking the secret, for teaching the secret that he had learned in secret, he was killed for it. And that's why he was hung in his shorts without any clothes on, because he was initiated in that manner. That's why his collarbone was broken and his head was hung to the side. See? Because that's a sign that all men who study and see
All Men Who Study in Secrets. In that video, you heard John the Baptist, and that's who that is. That is a character, a role that was played from and of the Social Lodge of Moses Israel as he first came to Miami in 1979. I'm revealing the secrets today, and one of the secrets is that he came here in 1979 as Moses Israel in Miami, Florida. Another secret is in the summer of 1980, I drove him personally. It was him and I only in the vehicle. I drove him from that temple at the time that it was under renovation. We were renovating our temple that was purchased by the nation of Yahweh. And one day in the summer of 1980, I drove him to North Miami Beach to a medical facility, a medical doctor facility. At that time, it was adjacent to what was called Parkway Hospital. Now, he didn't tell me why I was taking him as the driver. I drove him as he was a passenger in the vehicle, just him and I in that vehicle. But as we entered that doctor's office on that day, that morning, and he rang the doorbell for the receptionist in the doctor's office, and the glass rolled back. The receptionist, as he told the receptionist, Jacob Israel is here for his appointment. He used the name Jacob Israel. And I overheard it. And when I overheard it, I wondered to myself, why would he use the name Jacob Israel for a medical purpose? And I knew him then as Moses Israel, as Ak Moshe. But I knew him a lot more than that. But to them, he identified himself as Moses Israel and came as Moses Israel. But I knew that the facility that he went to, the doctor's office, was to treat patients with cancer or some type of disease in the colon or in the bowels or some type of ailment that deals with cancer. And I knew then that something was wrong. And it was confirmed to me personally when I became the chef in the temple of Yahweh's Cafe. At the time it was called Yahweh's Cafe. He appointed me to become his personal chef, to cook for him personally as chef. As I also cook for the nation, he invited others to come to Yahweh's Cafe and eat the food that I cooked for him. But there was this one particular time when I took up a meal for him, an entree that I prepared for him. And I bought a bottle of apple juice that was from concentrate. But as I was pouring the apple juice for him to drink with his meal, he told me that he could not drink that. In his words, he said, I cannot drink that apple juice, Mika. If you're going to give me apple juice, it must be natural apple juice. It must be unfiltered apple juice. And that was a doctor's order from the same appointment that day. Actually, that day when he had taken to the doctor, that was one of the commandments that were given to him by the doctor. No type of drinks that were unfiltered. It has to be natural drinks. And that would be the prostrate. And I'm telling the secret now because it's time for me to reveal secrets. As you heard him say, in that same interview, I was 200 years early, 1900 years too early, that I was not supposed to reveal secrets. So now today, I'm back to reveal secrets. So we use the word secrets. So let's go to concordance for a moment. And let's go to secrets. And that will explain what you know today as UFOs. And that will also coincide with Acts chapter 1. So go to your concordance and just type in first secret without being plural. Just the SECRET, secret. Here's a secret in the secret. The word secret itself in English, singular, appears, it says, printed in the King James Version Bible 68 times and found in 65 verses. The first time is in Genesis chapter 49, verse 6. The secret bears a reference of H 5475, and it's going to take you to a Hebrew word that begins with samek, that's known as sod. That means council, 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 assembly. And it also gives you the etymology of 3245 of Yasad that takes you to fix and establish and lay a foundation. That is not a secret. That is not the secret that Ma'ab was, or actually John the Baptist was told by Ma'ab to tell them. The secret he mentioned is in plural, with secrets. These secrets are also flying over these states today, known as spaceships. So you have UFO. When you put the S on the end, it becomes UFOs, more than one, plural. So we put secrets. When you place secrets in your search box in a strong concordance, it takes you to only 10 times it appears in the Bible, King James Version, printed 10 times in 10 verses. The first time is in a book called Deuteronomy, opposed to in Genesis of the other Bible, chapter 49, or the other word without the S. And of course, the last time is in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 25. However, when you look at the 10 times, there's only one time that this word secret was translated from the original Hebrew that begins with the empowerment of the symbol mem, M. That M or mem represents water. Mem is the god of water. It's a symbol that symbolizes water, the Hebrew symbol, the god of water. How water became blood. Now we're going right back to my previous testimony of First John chapter 5 and verse 7. Verses 6 and 7. Water and blood, not by water only, but by blood. By blood, whose blood? The blood of the Father. The Christ came in the blood of the Father. Here is what brought about what they're calling today Christmas. In 1953, as you see, you go to secrets, it takes you to H4016, the first one of secrets of Deuteronomy chapter 25. It takes you to the Hebrew word known as mubash. Mubash, well, actually mubashim. Mubashim. Mubashim takes you to the private parts. Whose private parts? His private parts of male genitals. The secret is Ma'ab placed his male genitals in the womb of a woman. His private parts in his genitals in a womb of a Mary. And after he done that, then what he had done was created an only begotten son of himself. An only begotten son is a secret. Actual secrets. It began the beginning of secrets in plural. When you look at the etymology, it takes you to 954. This is all prophetical. 954. That 954 represents, the 9 represents September, and the 54 represents the year of the Gregorian calendar that begins with Beth. That takes you to shame, to be ashamed. That shame, to feel shame. That shame takes you to ashamed, that takes you also to nakedness, that I was not ashamed of being naked. And that would take you to Genesis chapter 3, actually chapter 2. So go now for a moment to Genesis chapter 2. As a man and a woman were both naked and were not ashamed. And that would be probably in verse, let's look at verse 20, the last verse, 25. Genesis chapter 2, verse 25 says, and I read, and they were both naked, the man and his woman, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Remember that shame came from secrets. And I'll explain what he meant, what John the Baptist meant when I was hung in my shorts, crucified in that manner, and were not ashamed. It's like being naked. Now let's see if Micah left. Let's see if my soul left record of that. Go to Micah chapter 1. Now, right? Micah chapter 1. We're connecting the dots and the doubts. We're connecting the doubts and the dots of the truth. Micah chapter 1 and verse 8. And that says, have it? Micah chapter 1, verse 8. I read, I quote, therefore I will wail and howl. I will go stripped and naked from secrets. I will go stripped and naked from secrets, with secrets. I will make a wailing like the dragons and mourning as the owls. And here you have naked and not ashamed. That comes from H954. That started from secrets. That took from the genitals of a male genitals. How so? Well, the Bermuda Triangle. Remember, from Bermuda to Puerto Rico, from Bermuda with William Sales and the women that were with him of Judah as they crashed into Devil's Backbone Rock in Eleuthera in the 17th century, to the Puerto Rico of John the Baptist in honor of Christopher Columbus. You'll find that in your encyclopedias that he named Puerto Rico San Juan, Puerto Rico, in honor of John the Baptist, right to Miami of the west point of the Bermuda Triangle, where I landed in 1953 as water and became water, blood, and flesh in 1954 on September 27th, the 15th day of the 7th month of our calendar. So what's the lie of these spacecraft? These spacecrafts, again, are back today because of my call. What call? Right now, I'm making a public announcement that I am on a 40-day fast, a 40-day fast. My fast, this fast began on my calendar, our calendar solar, on the 14th day of the 9th month, the 14th day of the 9th month. On that calendar would be November 24th, 2024, sundown. It was a Sunday. I am now going to 23 days on this fast. Somebody can see it. There's only one celestial being in the history of this world that went on a 40-day fast, and that was the Christ, as well as you may see Elijah. Elijah and the Christ is the same soul. I repeat, Elijah and the Christ is the same soul. I've come in many appellations and names. Even Yahshua, the son of Nun, N-U-N, the 14th Hebrew alphabet. See, 14, Nun is the 14th Hebrew alphabet. And this fast started on the 14th day of the 9th month. Coincidence? No. Son of Nun? No. No coincidence. So with that said, let me take you back now to YouTube, because there's a lot of justifications going on with these mysterious objects out there in the sky that they call them drones. They're not. They are spacecrafts. And they're here on my account by my father as I called for them. Even the one that showed up at Bayside, downtown Miami, Florida, in Bayside on January 1st, 2024. Celestial beings. Why were they here? We're going to take you first to this video, and then I'm going to take you back to Psalms chapter 68 as we return. Do you see a video? Someone came on recently, like maybe 14 hours ago, 14-hour download, they say 12 hours or so, 14 by now, 15. I don't know if you came on as a justification by the U.S. government to try and calm down people who are terrified up in the northern states of our spacecrafts. That By the way, there's no such thing as a UFO. UFO does not exist. So let's clear that lie up. There's no such thing as UFO. UFO is impossible. You just identified it as an unidentified flying object. How can you unidentify something that you already identified as a flying object? That's impossible. How could it be a UFO if you put FO after the U for flying object? It being that you will not confess to your world of people, this planet, that it is a flying object that was not made on this planet by mankind. That means it belongs to the God who created you and formed you and made you. That's why you cannot identify it, because you know nothing of it or where it come from. It comes from where I come from. It comes from where we come from, where I come from with my father, my Ab. And I come from everlasting, as I told you I did in Micah chapter 5, verse 2. We come from everlasting. That means I'm coming and going to forever. Period. So get that UFO lie out of your mouth and the minds of the people. Stop lying to the people. Play that clip for a moment of this fella. I don't know his name, but play a little bit of that. And I want to get to a certain point. I'm going to tell you to stop. Play that.
Everybody, I just stumbled across something major, and it might just blow the lid off of this entire New Jersey drone mystery. Buried deep in the records of the United States Nuclear Regulation Commission, there is a report that nobody seems to be talking about. It's dated December 13th, 2024, just a few days ago. And what it says, well, this is the kind of thing that makes you sit up straight and start asking questions they don't want you to ask. So here's the deal. On December 2nd, 2024, a GE68 pin source, basically a small but significant amount of radioactive material, went missing in transit. This wasn't a paperwork error, folks. The report says that the container was meant for safe disposal. It arrived at its destination, damaged and empty. Let me say that again. The container carrying radioactive material arrived empty, and it looked like the container that it was in was broken open. Did somebody steal it? That's the question everybody's going to be asking now. So this material vanished somewhere between Newfield, New Jersey, and its destination. Now, on the exact day that this material went missing, across the skies of New Jersey, people started reporting these drones. Large flying swarms of drones silently hovering near sensitive infrastructure, power plants, nuclear facilities, military zones, and over houses and airports and stuff like that. It started the exact day that this material went missing. Folks, is this a coincidence? I don't know. You tell me. But, here we have radioactive material disappearing. Then suddenly unidentified craft are showing up like they're scanning or searching for something. So let's be honest. They're doing something that we're not supposed to know about. And so far, they haven't told us. It's all speculation at this point. Some people say they're actual UFOs. Some people say they're drones. Some people say it's Project Bluebeam itself. But let's just break it down. So this material is often used in medical imaging. It's radioactive. It's not really enough to cause.
Enough for me. Let me do this now. Stay here. You're gonna stay on YouTube for a moment. And you can follow me if you'd like. Those who are watching this video, I'm going to go to the record online, and you can look it up yourself. If you like to go to Google, you can type in the first sightings of drones. And I'm going to read it from CNN News, or the CNN website. It's titled, "What We Know About Mysterious Drone Sightings," CNN. And as I read, I'm going to quote, and I pray to my father, I pray to my Ab that CNN doesn't mind me doing this because it's public record. It says in the first paragraphs, I quote, "The sightings began November 18th near Morris County, New Jersey, according to the FAA. There had been drone sightings every night since then. Republican New Jersey Assembly member, I won't call the name, you can look at it, told CNN's, I'm not going to call that name, public record on Friday. It goes on after the period that says, I continue to quote, unnerved residents have frequently reported seeing drones hovering overhead, sometimes traveling in clusters. Second paragraph, Democratic Senator, I'm not going to call that name, of New Jersey, you can look it up, posted videos to his X account showing what appeared to be a cluster of drones flying over the Round Valley Reservoir on Thursday night. But Saturday, he acknowledged most of the aircraft he initially thought were drones were almost certainly planes, he posted on X. Third paragraph, representatives from the federal agencies investigating the sightings have briefed local officials behind closed doors, stating the possible drones sometimes appear to fly in a coordinated pattern and can remain in flight for up to 6 hours, according to, I'm not going to call that, but in Motorvale, New Jersey, according to the mayor of that particular Mountvale, New Jersey, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just thought I'll share that with you. Now, I want you to go to, as I explained to the people, and you'll find it there. I came on this public address to this planet without greeting you with shalom for a reason. And I explained to you I came not to bring peace, but a sword. I also want you to know, as I elaborate a little bit more and reiterate, that someone's pain to be delivered, and that pain is me. In fact, when you look at, you don't have to go to it, but you can go to your Bibles and you can look at Micah chapter 4 and verse 10. I'll read it. It's the only place in the Bible that these words are there, in Micah chapter 4 and verse 10. The only place where these three words are found in Micah chapter 4, verse 10, where it says, be in pain. However, in verse 1 of Micah chapter 4, it says, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow into it. Verse 2 says, and many nations shall come and say, come, and let us go up into the mountain, go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. I'm going to go stroll down now to verse 10 that says, and I quote continually, be in pain. Remember, that pain came from the pricking, of the prick of the bishop prick from chapter 1 of Acts, verse 20, to Ezekiel chapter 28 and verse 24, and then to the secrets of Deuteronomy chapter 25, and to the genitals of the God of the Hebrews, and to a woman. And that now a woman, that another woman, the sun-clad woman, is pain to be delivered. So be in pain and labor to bring forth. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered, and there the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. I am in this land, in this city right now, in the United States of America, North America, paining to be delivered from this city. And those that are here with me in this city will be delivered by these same, what you think are drones that are in pain, in cluster. They are in pain. I am the pain, in pain to be delivered. I am the woman in pain to be delivered by these cluster of spacecrafts that are scouting the area before they commence destruction. And that's the truth. These spacecrafts are on patrol and they're scouting. I went to Washington, D.C. I went to Washington District of Columbia with 7 of my angels with me to meet the President of the United States of America, also known in the Bible and biblical history as Pharaoh. I called on to Pharaoh several times, and the Pharaoh before him on several times to come to Miami and meet with me. But what did they do? They sent a media movie crew to my house to film me and to gather information. Did you hear what I said? They sent a movie crew that was headed by a same woman that's in prophecy of Micah chapter 7, verse 10. The same she. She know who she is because she's watching this video. The same she will now see my eyes that shall behold her, as they saw my eyes doing the filming that they were doing of me. So opposed to the pharaohs of this government coming to see me and meet with me to see exactly what I want and what I want from my people, they sent a movie crew to my house. They refused to acknowledge me. They refused to come, just as they were prophetically and historically doing back in the days of Israel and bondage, all 12 tribes in Egypt. They're doing it again today. My Father, harden your heart so that he can continue to perform these miracles in your face before he destroy the spiritual Egypt today. You cannot change that. Why? You're stubborn, hard-headed. You will not come to see me. You should come for the sake of your people to Miami and meet with me, but you're not going to do that, are you? Do you know what kind of blessing you would bring upon yourself if you do, if you can find enough nerve to come and sit in my face, meet with me? So because you will not do that, I'm in pain. So where's the pain? You have P-A-I-N. That's all you see in the Bible. Pain. That's all you see. But where did that pain come from? Do you see the P-A separated from the I-N? When you put that P-A apart, when you take the A and the I and separate that, do you have Pa? You have Pa? Don't you call your dad sometime Pa? You have Pa N. You have Pa and N. That's what you have. If you look in your concordance, you'll find it under Kaf. Kaf. You have Kaf Aleph Beth, Ka'ab, under pain, and that's H3510. And when you look down in the meaning of it, you'll also find Ma, M-A-R, Ma, M-A-R. And when you look at M-A-R under that, under Mar, which is a participle, which means par is missing. What missing? The S. And now you have a mystery on what you meant throughout history as men from Mars. That's your men from Mars, not the planet. It's not the planet, folks. It's not the planet. It's the one who they know will come in the last days to be symbolized as a woman in Revelation chapter 12, the sun-clad woman that would be in pain. That pain would take you to M-A-R, and the S would be for sun. That means the sun would be in pain, and he would be from Mars. It would be Mars. That's what that means. That's the secret. That's the men of Mars. And since then, even 3 years before I came to this planet, they made a movie. Go to now your second clip, since you're in YouTube. Go to a movie that they made in 1951. In 1951, it's called The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951. And who did they get to star? They starred a fellow by the name of Michael Rennie. Michael Rennie knows the first name who they got to play this role as a star, Michael. And he was tall, 6 feet 4 inches in height, that they got to play this role. And he symbolizes Michael the Archangel. And he's kind of like in the image of my face. You look at it in the white skin, the image of my face. We're going to look at a small clip of that now. This is the 1951 version of, I quote, "The Day the Earth Stood Still," 1951, starring Michael Renee at the time. Play a little of that clip.
Every day. And the threat of aggression by any group
Specific starts from the
anywhere
beginning. Listen to what's being said here
can no longer be tolerated.
from the beginning.
The universe grows smaller every day.
That's good.
I am leaving soon.
That movie clip, again, that was filmed and released to the public in 1951, 3 years before I arrived here back from our planet, from everlasting. But notice the emphasis I'm bringing to you is the name of the actor of that particular clip, that movie. Again, Michael Renee. Why would Hollywood choose him? He was from, and he was born in England. He born in the United Kingdom. And after that, they did a remake of that movie again in 2008, 1 year after I returned from the Bahamas, although they were making it more than likely film it while I was in the Bahamas in 2007, 2006. They made a remake of the very same movie. It's titled the same title, "The Day the Earth Stood Still," in 2008. And this time the star was Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves. You want to take a guess on what his middle name is? And he's still alive, of course. Michael Renee, he didn't live over 61 years old. He was only 61 years old in that body when he passed away. But the middle name of Keanu Reeves is Charles, as in Charles Lawrence Johnson, or Prince Charles, or King Charles. That's his middle name by birth. And after that, in 1996, the U.S. government, or they allowed another movie to be shown to the public that's called Michael. Michael, that portrays the Archangel Michael. And you can see that movie. And the star of that movie, one Michael Travolta. Michael Travolta in that movie was born in 1954. The very same Michael Travolta that starred in Staying Alive. His middle name is Joseph. And did I mention to you that Michael Travolta was born in New Jersey? He was born in New Jersey, where they have sightings now of our spacecrafts. Opposed to Keanu Reeves, that was born in Beirut, Lebanon. They chose these men, these actors, deliberately to compare to what's truly happening and who it truly represents. But you cannot see that because you think that they want you to believe that they're just movie stars and they're making movies for your entertainment, to go sit down with your husband, wife, your family, hug up with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your fiance, and eat some popcorn and drink some Coca-Cola while you watch a nice movie. And that was a nice movie, baby. Wasn't it a nice movie? Let's try another one next month. That's what you thought. Although back in the 50s and 51, I don't know what they were thinking, but they told you the truth. I believe Eisenhower was president back then. They were telling you the truth. They were telling you what they know of our spacecrafts and what they're going to do, as it was in Sodom and Gomorrah. But it'll be more tolerable in Sodom and Gomorrah than it's going to be if you don't come see me. You have your chance to come and see me and to tell the people the truth. Confess that it was prophetically promised you would. Tell the truth. New Jersey. Why New Jersey? Because it's a new garment. Jersey is synonymous. A jersey, like a football jersey, is synonymous for a new garment. Look in your Bible. It's there. It's prophetical. You must put on a new garment, Israel. Put on a new garment. Now, as I close, as I've given you the secret, let's go to Psalms chapter 68 for a moment. And let's show you the truth of what they are and how they know they are. Psalm chapter 68 and verse 4. Psalm chapter 68, verse 4, and I'm going to quote that verbatim. I quote, "Sing unto God." You have it? Still loading. I'm going to let those see with me, with you, with us. Sing unto God. And that's a lowercase G-O-D, not all caps. Sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name. And you see what they put in all caps? J-A-H. There's no J. There's no J till 1635. That's Yah. And rejoice before him. God's name is not Jah. That's the bad news. Not Jah, neither Yah. His name is not Yod Wafe or Yahweh. That's not God's name. And down in verse 17, were they called in drones or truly chariots of celestial laws? Chariots of celestial laws, spacecrafts, aka UFOs. The chariots of God are 20,000. You say you saw drones of them? You saw clusters of them? Try 20,000 that'll be flying on this planet at one time all over the planet in every government, every country that there is. Even Vanuatu or Vanuatu. That's, I believe, that's a little island of some country in Asia that experienced an earthquake today, a 7.4 in the Richter scale. Vanuatu, something like that. I didn't name it, so it doesn't matter to me what they call it. But I repeat, in verse 17 of Psalms chapter 68, the chariots, the UFOs, the flying spacecrafts, the celestial crafts, the spaceships, the mothership, they come from the mothership. The mothership had 20,000 chariots on it and thousands of angels. 20,000, can you imagine? Well, that's all we told David, I read 20,000. It's more than that. You would never know how many we have, never. And the introduction is, after the colon, the same verse says, the Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in the holy place. So you have to know now where Sinai is in the holy place, end quote, in the verse 17 of Psalm chapter 68. See, thou hast ascended, in verse 18, thou hast ascended on high. Thou hast led captivity captive. Thou hast received gifts for men on Christmas Day. For the rebellious also, that the Lord God might dwell among them. Even if you say your Christmas is coming up. Listen, people of this planet, there's no such thing as December 25th as Christmas Day. What they're doing is taking your money. It's greed. I was told by my father to come and make an announcement to come and see me while I'm here and while I can be found. And that includes Judah. You should look for me while I can be found. This government is lying to you. I've covered everything he told me to say, going over my notes, and that concludes it. Every single thing. Finally, I will leave you with Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 16. You want to know what they are? Ezekiel. It was prophesied that the U.S. government, there'd be some fighter jets trying to catch them and intercept them. Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 16. You want to know what they are? Drones? They're not drones. They were drawn. They were drawn on a blueprint. They were drawn on a blueprint by the architect of the universe, Mein Ab, who created them and made them. Flying machines with no gasoline, no fuel. We use hydrogen for fuel. We come down into the Earth's atmosphere and we scoop it up. And we just scoop it up as we go along in space. That means as long as there's hydrogen in front of the spacecraft, that's as fast and as far as it can go. And that's infinity. That's infinite. And our spacecrafts can fly at a cruising speed of 186,000 miles per second. We fly at 186,000 miles per second. We are not bound to speed or light. They call it warp speed. When we travel that speed, they become invisible and you cannot see them. That's why you call them UFOs. What was that? it disappeared. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 16 identifies one that says, the appearance of the wheel and their work were like unto the color of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their wheels and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Their wheel and their works was as it was a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And you draw that, you would call it a flying saucer, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And you should come and see me before it gets worse. And the more that I fast, the faster they're going to come. And the faster your destruction will come upon you if you do not come to see me. I am nothing to play with, nothing to play with. And that is all. That is totally all that I have to say to you. I have nothing else to say to you.